welcome to the Teacher's Toolkit for Literacy, the free podcast for motivated teachers and school leaders who want to inspire their students and school community in literacy learning. Make sure you subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast player, and for more amazing literacy resources, check out the show notes provided with every episode.
Hi, I'm Sharon and I'm the host of A Teacher's Toolkit for Literacy. In every Toolkit episode, we bring you specific resources, tools, strategies, tips, techniques to help you in your job as a teacher of literacy. Firstly, we acknowledge and pay our respects to the Kaurna people, the traditional custodians whose ancestral lands we gather on. We acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and relationship of the Kaurna people to country, and we respect and value their past, present and ongoing connection to the land and cultural beliefs. And welcome, Phil.
Thanks, Sharon, and welcome back to part 2 of our podcast. Enjoy. So going back a step, where do those words come from, the ones you've got there?
So the digraph that we worked on the day before, we then have a checklist of words. So, for example, we did CK, back, duck, kick, stuck.
Yep.
They then write the word and then they're going to blend it and draw it in the end.
Okay.
We will help the struggling readers and writers.
Mm.
Yeah.
But
they come from the curriculum.
They do.
Of essay.
The focus as well as the words.
Yeah.
All right. So in the document, you're using the words that are already listed in there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
But you have lifted those words from there to create
Morning message as well.
Yeah.
a morning message. And so these words are now in use, not just I hear them or I see them. There's a real meaning for them. Plus you're doing, what else is incorporated in there? Handwriting. So letter formation. Yes, knowing, the diagram, CK together, and that drawing of it. As we said before, you're really linking reading, writing, and these things being connected. So it's not an isolated piece. And this is part of the every morning, like that's what you've moved into now, is that every morning, would they work on one of those? Oh, I'm seeing other things in the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll show you the other stuff.
Tell me some other things.
So we then
tell us some
also
other.
have a sentence. So this one says, Buzz had skill on the grill. The fluff went hiss. So it's where you have your double letter making the one sound, obviously.
Yes.
But we will find majority of the children can actually read this because it's all decodable.
Yeah.
And it's using the sounds we're currently just using or
Yes.
we've just used for that week.
Yes.
And they know them sometimes as silly sentences.
Yes.
As well.
Yes. And those sentences have come from the same source?
No, these are created.
Great.
From the words.
Great.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
So, these are pulled from the air.
Yeah. This is an important piece around this, because those words just staying in isolation of themselves aren't going to, what do we do with that?
Yes.
But okay, let's put it into a silly sentence, and that's really what they are. They don't always have, they can't have.
They don't have meaning.
Yeah. But these then, so they get a copy of that for reading, but then is it like a dictation that they do is this like dictation?
So they then copy the sentence.
Right.
So they don't do dictation at all. It's just them. They grab this in the morning, they stick it in, they do the sentence first, then they'll come up to us and we read it with them. Yeah. We support, again, the readers that can't read it will sound it out.
Yes.
They might be able to use the words. If not, we just read it and they will just then repeat.
Yes, yeah. Do you ever have children just chuckling at those sentences?
Yes. And our morning messages.
Good. They're getting great enjoyment out of it. So this is part of what you call your morning book.
Yeah.
And the morning routines of things. So this is very much a routine of things that once they're on it, then that flows for X number of weeks. And then that lets you, and I know how much you're always sitting with children, side by siding with them for the things that they need, but letting them get on with as best as they can. And surely the routine of it is really
It flows really nicely in the morning because they come in straight away. They know that they have to get their morning book. They grab the little sheet that's printed on the floor and they'll get started. Once they're finished, they can either choose to read a book or they can do their ALF practice doing the letter formation. Sorry.
Yes.
So it's a set structured routine. They know exactly what's expected of them and every single child does it.
Yeah. And we actually brought it in as part of regulation from coming in with busy mornings getting to school.
Yes.
We had play and they were quite deregulated. And this settled moving into our learning time.
Gave them a focus that they can all go in onto. Yep.
And do you feel like it even acts then as a little bit of a warm-up to the work that comes after that? Do you know that they've had a little bit of high success reading and writing? Nodding again, yes.
We move straight into word work after that. So once they've done this and everyone's sort of finished, we get started straight on our word work. So it moves nicely into that.
Yes.
And what can word work look like? What do you then do in word work?
So we have a focus sound for that morning in word work and we practice reading it, we practice writing it, we practice using it in sentences, and we also try and find it within books that we're reading during our independent reading time. I often get children come and show me, even when they're reading books in their own time, oh, look, this is the letters we learnt today or the sounds that we learnt.
And you've built that as well, if I can jump in. In term 1 and 2, Tamara had the students sitting in a familiar circle and looking at their books and pointing out what they've seen from their Readers and Writers workshop to now they do it independently and are really excited to bring it up to you and talk about what they've found.
Yeah, it's that wondrous thing, isn't it, when they notice something or see something or make that connection to something and tell you as if they are the first person in the world to have discovered it. And in fact, they are. If they've discovered it, they are the first, but it's the first time they've discovered it. So that is a very big piece of your classroom is, that connectedness and the sharing of those things, the noticings, the look at what I found, and not just holding that in my own head, but letting others know, pointing it out, telling where I found it. You're reaching to say something.
That's okay.
Yes.
There's pure enjoyment with it. Like they love it, and just sharing certain words, even high frequency words like, oh, there's was. We learnt that today, and they'll come up and show you, and I found it 5 times. There's just so much excitement and joy in it.
Yes.
And that's what the classroom is all about. The foundation that we've built with that is just, the enjoyment of it, and I can do this.
Yes, There it is. I can do it. That's where we started. The every child is feeling, I am a reader, I am a writer, and all these things are the things that count. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just going to ask, how do you balance guiding students with what they're doing as opposed to allowing them some creative freedom to get going on?
Good question.
Yep.
We obviously have genres that we have to follow within our school sequence.
I was going to say lots of exposure. You bring to the classroom lots of books in relation to the topic that you're looking at and expose them first with lots of language around what you're looking at. Yep. So with the information reports, how they work, what goes into the reports, and then building on books.
Yeah, and then they can choose, for example, in the non-fiction, they can choose their own topics to do. And we've even had the older children research the information for us on their favourite animal. They got to choose the animal. They'd give us the information. We could then stick it in, but then they could do all the illustrations and the labelling within that book. So they still get choice and they still get things that they're passionate about.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Because you want to keep that alive so you can it drives them to do it because they want to do it. Yeah,
absolutely. And also the time that they get to make their free choice books in our play sessions, or if we've got a bit of spare time, if they've finished their work already, when they get to make their own books, they get their free choice then as well.
Yep.
We do have many families have actually shared with us. Children have gone home and made their own books as well, and then they come back and they share them with the class.
Yep.
So they're going home and doing it even in their free time at home. So it just leads in both to the classroom and then at home as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how do parents support with this? And that's a way they can get into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With not only the reading, like encouraging them to read with their children, but enabling them to be able to make the books at home and providing the resources and supporting them with that. We've had some brilliant stories come from making at home, and then they've come to school and shared them with us, and they've shared them with the whole class. They've been so proud of them, and the illustrations have been amazing.
Or even dads getting involved trying to draw unicorns. Yeah. As part of illustrating.
Wow. And what's more, your children are driving it. Like going home, wanting to do those things. Like you say, parents don't even necessarily have to be driving it. They've just got to be getting the things to go along with it. You know, the paper, the pencils, the whatever, to make things happen. Oh, I love that. Dad's drawing unicorns.
Yes.
Oh, unforgettable, isn't it? You'd never forget that your dad did that for you.
Yeah. And you've talked a bit about this, but children with various abilities, how do we cater for them in terms of the things that are going on in the classroom?
Absolutely. We have varying lead-in levels, I guess. We have they can write their own sentence if they're able to. They can sometimes trace our writing. They can get a whiteboard and we'll write it, and then they can copy.
Yep.
Some will just do illustrations and then we'll scribe for them if they're at that level. We found everyone has sort of a spot to come in on, though.
Yes.
So the thing is, you've got a community of readers and writers that can stay together. You don't need some to go out to another specialist activity, but you can keep them all within the classroom, and it doesn't matter what ability they are. They are a community of readers and writers, no matter what level.
Everyone is doing the task at the same time. So everyone is there doing the activity at the same time.
Yep.
And they all just do what they're capable of, and they know that it's okay to do that. They feel safe to do that. We've really built on just have a go, really. Yes. We're at the point now where we've learned a lot of our letters, so it is about having a go. What can you hear first? Just have a go at that. Doesn't matter if you get it wrong. It's just about having a go.
And even page numbers were a success. If it was just an illustration and they could put 1, 2, 3, 4 on their pages, they were so excited that they created something that had sequence.
Yes.
Well.
Yes. Yeah. So it's an incredible range of things that you have covered with your students as both readers and writers, in like you haven't been just focusing on one thing. You've actually been focusing on many things at a time to allow children entry points into trying those different things too.
But within routines, you've got structures in place and materials, and they know what they're going to go to, and you've got the structures going on.
It's wonderful this time of the year because you see it all really come together.
Yep.
At the start, you were doing a lot of I do, then we do.
Yep.
And then it's progressed to term 2 where you have some having a go, but it's still some of the I, we do. Whereas in this term now, we've had a lot of just they're going in and having a go at it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And you can see it all come full circle, and it's all coming in nicely together, and they're all having a go at things when they previously wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I was going to say, what indicators have you got? I mean, you see the kids have got a great passion for what they're doing, and you can see they're doing volumes of work. And can you talk a little bit about how you measure the change?
Like the growth that we've seen?
Yeah.
Well, we've kept a lot of the books, obviously, so we can see that from the start of the year where we're at, even with them writing their own names.
Yep.
You can see the huge growth of children that couldn't even barely hold a pencil, I guess, and then you've seen them grow to now they're writing their own words, they're doing these beautiful pictures. You had students at the start of the year that would barely even draw a picture. Now they're doing these beautiful pages full of illustrations, and they've got this gorgeous story to tell with it. So you can really see it through the output of their work.
Yep.
And obviously making their own books. We're making, a book a week basically now, and they're doing that on their own. So there's less class books, but there's lots of individual books.
Yep.
And the confidence to just pick the paper up and go back to their sit spots and create what they do.
Yeah.
And ability to read published books, is that getting stronger?
There definitely is. It's probably half and half. Some just sort of still tell their own story. Others will actually be able to read back what they've written.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a bit half and half at the moment, but you can see that progressing as well, and the development that's come from the start of the year again.
And I know why okay, here's the question. How often are your children writing in your classroom?
All day.
Every day.
Yeah, yeah. So there's the, like, you know, your eyes are totally on your children, like you are constantly moving within your students, not being in their way, but to scaffold as you need, but you're very aware of what width part they need and then ready to turn it over, and now to you, and now to you. And so I think because reading and writing are such strong everyday things in the classroom, I just love seeing the joy on your face, Tamara, because it is just, and we'll get to, you know, before this year, but, you know, the volume of and the stamina that they have for, you know, the practice that they are experiencing every day. You just know so much about your students as readers and writers because you're seeing them in action multiple times in a day. And they are not only showing you, they're talking about it. So you know their needs, but more importantly, you know their joys of what they've discovered, of what they've written that is like, just listen to this. And that's my abiding memory from the Mr. Seahorse day, you know, is listen to this.
I think there's a default way of being in the classroom of I can go and read and I can go and write. I can initiate that. And it's not that I'm waiting for someone to tell me what to do.
I agree.
Do you think that's the change in teaching philosophy here, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yep. And you've just given them that option to, when they want to read and write, they can.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
They have the skills to do it.
Yep.
You've given them that power.
They can take the initiative on it. Yep.
Right. Tough question. It's not on the sheet.
Okay.
This year has been a different year. If you could say what two things? Let's start with what one thing. What's one thing that you've done this year that you know has just had high impact that might not have been something that you've done before?
The huge emphasis on classroom books.
Yeah, making a class book. Yeah.
Making a class book.
Yeah. Right, there's one. So that's made a big difference. The morning routine, would that be?
Do you know that was because of you? We started that.
And then we got carried away. 2 books later.
Yeah, I know. Here we are, second half of the year, and you're telling me they've already done one book. Now, we talked about that because we said it was important for it to be caught, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. We did. So we used to use write and wipe and them just tracing their name on the write and wipe sleeves, and we just rubbed it off every day. But we discussed that we couldn't see the progress from where they started to where they are now, and we're so glad we did it because we've looked back at their first books and we went, wow, look how much they have transformed their writing and just their
skills. Skills.
Their skills have transformed within the books in such a short time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose one of the big changes is that you're archiving you've got a record of everything that's going on so that you can look back, and that's part of your assessment as a teacher, that you can see what's going on here. It's not just, I'm going to do that and then it's gone. Yeah.
And the students look back at their own work as well, and they love their own growth.
Yeah, they can see their own growth.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're so proud of their achievement.
Yep.
We sat there when we moved to our second book, we sat back and had a look at our first books and they were like, wow, look how much we've done in here. We could see the growth. They just thought, wow, we've done lots of work.
But even that, isn't it? You know, it's like, I am a writer. That's what they're doing. That's what they're catching themselves doing, both in that book. That's why I keep coming back, that morning bit, not because I don't think it was my idea about catching it. I know that was, but how you've taken it now to that. I just think there's so much power in that they are reading that word, they are writing and showing the meaning of that word, that here is what it is, that expansion of understanding about all these varied words that are coming in.
And also their talk has probably changed over the year as that's gone on. They're listening and they're speaking.
Definitely more.
Yeah.
Definitely more talking.
Lots more talking.
But focused talk.
Yes, and the confidence to talk as well. The discussions that are being had within the classroom, even about the books and the words that we've been learning and what they can find in the books, they have that confidence because they feel like they're empowered. They have the knowledge to discuss it and they have the knowledge behind them that they've learnt this and I can tell you all about it.
Yes.
So, yeah, definitely that. And the oral language skills have definitely improved over time.
Yep.
I have quite a few students with speech
Yep.
and this has supported them enormously because we're talking all the time. We're sharing our illustrations. We're having gallery walks where we'll go and have a look around and then we'll give like reflections on and feedback to people. So we're constantly talking and discussing and how can we improve things and what have you done? What have I done?
And they've got excellent models of the English language to read aloud and they're getting that all the time as well, aren't they? So
we have numerous amounts of mentor texts and I have a copious amounts of books in my classroom. Hayley's constantly trying to cull. my book boxes are overflowing all
There's
the time.
only so many a class should have.
yeah.
Oh, is there, Hayley?
Oh, Sharon, you've seen them busting at the seams.
And I was going to say that's something that has always been a part of your teaching, Tamara, is, the importance of literature in the classroom and reading that to your children. But every year it's like,
There's
I
another
arrive
6
in that
baskets.
school and guess what I've just found? Guess what book I've got now? Guess what? And, there is year upon year upon year that range of books that you are collecting, that you are using with your children is getting richer.
And thank you, Sharon,
And
for one
more
more to
varied.
that collection too today. Yes.
You can't have too many, Hayley. You really can't.
We haven't got enough shelves.
More space, I need an extension.
Yes, there'll have to be the room next door. Your office will be going.
They're there. There's already 2
They're
shelves.
already
They're
there.
And I suppose there's lots of opportunity with this sort of work for shared reading where they're all seeing the same text and that you're looking at that text together and going through, certain things that you're trying to point out to them or because you've built up this culture of doing that, be a lot of that sort of opportunity, wouldn't there?
Yes. So we have sometimes we will put it on the screen. We try not to do that a great deal, but there is some on the screen. We also photocopy books and put them like in A3 or a bit bigger so that we can see the text together. Yep. We also have the large read aloud books as well, as well as your normal size books. Yep. So there's a variety and a range.
Yep.
Yeah.
And to read together as a whole group, some texts.
Yes, absolutely. We've done, I think earlier in the year more so, but we had poems we would read together and track along. Yep. We've also got decodable text that we do that with as well, that they've got a copy and they can also take it home and share with their families.
Yes.
And they can do illustrated responses to those.
Yeah.
And then we have the reading conferences where Tamara and I will work together in the class and they'll read a decodable text with us. And then if there's a little bit of time, I sort of sneak in a little sneaky my own book to read.
Hayley likes sharing her own.
Oh, now look who's...
Oh, no, individual child in reading time conferencing, Sharon.
But importantly, our children, just like we've talked about the rich range of experiences your children are being given in the reading and the writing, that also needs to translate to their own, what they are engaging with as the reader and the writer, because we know that it's that range of things that provides the richness for what it is that gives us, okay, what we can decode, but then what books enable us to really think deeply about something. What books give us, some real rhyme and rhythm to the text that, so the poetry, the place of, and just in the same way that you work with different types of books in writing and different types of genres, it's those different types of books that they get to experience in their reading as well. So if it was just one type, it wouldn't let them have the breadth of what they need as readers. So you slip those in, Hayley.
We do have 2 books that they can read. So we have a decodable we do for the first 5-10 minutes, and then they have their own choice for 5-10 minutes. So we practice our reading skills, and then they can still do it in the other book, but they also love engaging with the pictures and discussing that afterwards.
And that idea of being able to, like you said before too, of noticing, like being very excited when they're finding high frequency words in there, and recognising more and more words from the word work that you're doing, and then finding that, they're words that are in books that I just pick up, because let's face it, that's what high frequency words are. They're words that we're going to see a lot in the books that we read, and we use those words a lot in our writing. So that idea that we're going to find things in books that we do already know and recognise. And sometimes our decodables don't give us as much of that. Some of the high frequency words don't appear in our decodables as much as they will in the authentic and rich text. And
sometimes we can make our own decodable, Sharon.
Yes.
Yeah, we can get the words and...
Well, silly sentences are doing exactly that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Love it.
Can I just add?
Yes, of course.
We also go to the library. So we have a library session each week that we go and borrow our own books, and they love sharing those with each other as well. So we sit down, we get back, and then they share their books, and we normally read one that someone's borrowed as well. So the helper of the day or star of the day, we choose their book and read that to the class as well.
Yes. And those books go home?
Yes, they get to take those home and read with their families.
Yes. Yeah. So these lovely opportunities for choice and for variety, that they're being exposed to. And of course, the class books you're making, high value for engaging in all kinds of stories and experiences, like the mocha and chai guinea pig books.
We have to have rotations because we have so many of them. So it's you have to rotate. You don't have enough room to display them all.
Yeah.
With Tamara's book.
How would you say this work influenced behaviour in the classroom?
Well, yes, it probably has, because some students at the start of the year weren't really that engaged and weren't that interested in producing work, whereas now, because we're sharing a lot as well, it's that ownership of like, I can now share my book. So if you haven't done anything, you can't really share. Whereas so they're all sort of buying in that I want to be able to share. I want to share this amazing work that I can do, and I want to read my story.
Yeah. So there's more, because there's more purpose, there's more chance that they're going to be on task. Yep.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And even the children that were not as confident in giving things a go have found the confidence now to share and do those things instead of sitting back quietly.
Yeah.
And being happy in the classroom and within their school, and being happy about who they are and where they are.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because of all this,
It gives them a real sense of identity, because they can go, this is about me, or this is my story, this is what I want to tell you. They've all been able to share something, and like Hayley just mentioned, some that weren't confident before, they've seen others do it and they're like, I can do this. Yeah. And they want to produce something so that they can share with their class.
That's because you've got a community of workers together that are all able to talk to each other and learn from each other as well as the teacher.
Yeah, they've built great relationships with each other as well. Yeah. And they're very encouraging and going, they're amazing drawings. Yeah. Or I love the story that you've written. Like, we've really tried to give positive feedback as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And possibly because they also understand the process. They understand what it is to have illustrated something, to write something, to have thought about something, to bring an idea to life. And because you have found entry points for every child, number one, the entry point is if they've got an idea, it can be written.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going... Oh, can we mention the scarecrows?
Sure.
Okay, so we're going even bigger than that, Sharon.
Oh,
not only are
of course you are.
writing, sharing, but we're actually going to build a scarecrow from their ideas that they've put into their books about appearance, habitats, and the information that they've gathered, and make a scarecrow for the Royal Show.
Oh, wow.
So at the end they have something real and tangible from all of that conversation.
Yes.
And intrigue.
Oh, and they're all in it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the power of it, isn't it? The community. Community, but for every child personally to see their place in the community, that, I have an identity in here. So,
And that's probably a great place to finish, I think, Sharon.
Yeah. I was just reflecting on, I did say what were the three things, but I think we got there. I think we got there quite easily, in fact, didn't we? The class books, I'm just going to do a quick summary. Yeah. The class books, definitely that was a game changer. Creating the class books.
Morning routine.
And I think the sharing was your other big thing. This
community.
This talking and sharing what they're doing, because everybody's in. Everybody's got, because those class books means everybody is in. Yeah. Yep. We started there. We can finish there. You'll have people on your doorsteps here. People will want to see. It is an absolute, I'm going to finish it. I know how much you love being in your room with your students. It's always so much fun. I always want to be 5 again. Whenever I come in, it is so joyous to be in the room.
You really want to stay longer, don't you?
Yes.
50 minutes is not long enough.
No. No, it isn't long enough. You want me to stay longer?
Stay all day.
Stay all day. But that is and that's what really comes across in the whole, that it is everybody's in. I'm a part of it. And do you know what I love the most is how much children make me a part of being in there. It's not about me, but it's because they are just spilling over with what they want to share, talk about, show. Here I am as reader, writer, come and enjoy this with me.
They love it. Any guest that comes into the classroom, anyone they can share with, they're there.
Yeah. But not in a distracting way. It's like nobody's trying to get out of doing anything. It is an honest, deep feeling of, I have got so much to share with you. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank Hayley and Tamara for coming in today, and it was really a fantastic session. Thank you for coming, and thank you for all your input.
Yes. And can we say, so in the show notes, there'll be some photos of some of the glorious books that have, well, it won't be the whole book, but some samples of some things that have been made. And I'm absolutely sure someone will email, at some point, a listener, and will say, okay, so what are the books you've made? Maybe not today, but we'll make it, I'm in tomorrow. We might make a little list of the things that you've done, because I think that would be really...
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us today, and thank you to our guests, and thank you, Sharon, and bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. Thank you, Hayley.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. To make sure you don't miss any literacy learning tips and insights, please subscribe to our show on your favourite podcast player. At Q Learning, our literacy specialists draw on over 30 years of teaching and international consulting experience to deliver world-class learning solutions. We equip, empower and support teachers to become their authentic selves. To find out about upcoming webinars and about how Q can help you and your school, visit qlearning.com.au. And you can get even more amazing teaching resources right now at teachific.com.au. Stay tuned.